Sunset duels, horseback chases, and showdowns between sheriffs and outlaws are iconic images that fill the imagination of the American Wild West. These characters, ranging from heroes to villains, starred in stories intertwined with the legend and reality of that wild era. While some of these figures met dramatic and legendary ends fitting the tales they inspired, others had more mundane outcomes, reflecting the hardships and tough life in the vast, challenging territories of the American West. William "Buffalo Bill" Cody, a Wild West entertainment icon with his traveling show, passed away on January 10, 1917, during a visit to his sister in Denver from kidney failure. Cody was a legendary figure who had expressed in his lifetime the wish to be buried on Lookout Mountain in Colorado, known for its spectacular views. However, access to his chosen burial site was blocked by snow that harsh winter. To fulfill his last wish, the funeral home had to preserve his body for 6 months, during which time it needed to be embalmed repeatedly. During this waiting period, a controversy arose. Some argued he should be buried in Cody, Wyoming, the town he helped found, and which was mentioned in a previous will. Despite the debates, Buffalo Bill was laid to rest on Lookout Mountain as he had desired. There are conspiracy theories suggesting that Buffalo Bill's remains didn't stay in Colorado, but were secretly moved to Wyoming. Bat Masterson was a man of action, a skilled gunslinger and a respected sheriff, thanks in part to the influence of his friend Wyatt Earp. Earp was key in persuading Masterson to take part in the turbulent governance of Dodge City, Kansas, a place already patrolled by his brothers in law enforcement. His days as sheriff were a mix of triumph and sorrow, marked notably by the painful episode of his brother Ed's murder while on duty. By the age of 49, tired of the dangers and disorder of the West, Masterson longed for tranquility. So he and his wife decided to move to New York in search of peace. There, Masterson swapped his gun for a pen, becoming a respected newspaper journalist and also serving as a U.S. Marshal. However, his final chapter was written abruptly. On October 25, 1921, while finishing his last column for a morning paper, Masterson died of a heart attack at 67, seated at his desk. Wyatt Earp, though not widely known during his 19th century lifetime, became a legendary figure after his death, especially thanks to a biography that depicted his daring adventures, like the famous shootout at the OK Corral. Toward the end of his life, Earp moved to Los Angeles, where he integrated into the budding world of cinema, serving as an unpaid consultant for Western movies. He made friends with film icons like Tom Mix and William Hart, who ended up as pallbearers at his funeral when Earp passed away in 1929. During the funeral, Tom Mix couldn't hold back his tears, a scene that captured the deep connection and respect between the movie stars and this titan of the Old West. John Henry "Doc" Holliday, initially a dentist in Texas, saw his life take an unexpected turn due to his passion for card games. This interest led him to mingle with iconic figures of the Old West, like Wyatt Earp, getting involved in shootouts and increasingly delving into the world of alcohol and gambling. Unfortunately, these habits exacerbated his tuberculosis, a disease that was already undermining his health. Seeking relief, Holliday moved to a sanatorium in Glenwood Springs, Colorado, where in 1887, at the age of 36, he passed away, leaving behind a legacy marked as much by gunfights as by cards on the table. Annie Oakley, the iconic sharpshooter who made history as a role model for young women worldwide, was born Annie Mosey. By her teens, at age 16, she already displayed remarkable shooting skills, which would spectacularly put her on the map during an unlikely competition that defined the course of her life. During a visit to her sister's home, a local innkeeper, recognizing her talent, organized a shooting match. Her opponent was none other than Frank Butler, a professional exhibition shooter known for his precision. The competition involved hitting as many targets as possible out of a series of 25. While Frank impressed everyone by hitting 24, Annie exceeded expectations and hit all 25 targets, securing not just the victory but also Frank's heart. The attraction was mutual, and the couple married shortly thereafter, beginning a journey together that would last nearly 50 years. During this time, Annie Oakley joined Buffalo Bill's Wild West show, where she became a legendary sharpshooter, touring extensively and captivating audiences everywhere. Despite her successful career and adventurous life, Annie's journey was tragically cut short by anemia, the disease that led to her death. Frank, deeply affected by the loss of his wife and longtime companion, succumbed 18 days after Annie's death, possibly from the devastating impact of a broken heart. The couple was buried side by side in a gesture symbolizing their inseparable bond in the Oakley family cemetery, leaving behind a legacy of love, skill, and pioneering spirit that continues to inspire many around the world. Billy the Kid, a young outlaw known for his brief and violent life, met his end at the hands of Sheriff Pat Garrett. By the age of 18, Billy was already linked to about 17 homicides and was constantly on the run from the law. The chase between him and Garrett was intense and full of twists. Garrett finally captured Billy, who was tried and sentenced to death by hanging. However, just before his scheduled execution in 1881, Billy spectacularly escaped, leaving 2 guards dead during his breakout. His freedom was short-lived. After 3 months on the run, Garrett received a tip about Billy's whereabouts. With caution and strategy, Garrett stormed Billy's dark hideout at the Maxwell Ranch in New Mexico. Hidden in the shadows, he waited for the young outlaw's arrival. When Billy showed up, he had no chance to react. Garrett shot him, ending his life. Like many figures of the Old West, Billy the Kid's death has sparked much speculation and conspiracy theories, perpetuating his legacy in American history. Davy Crockett, nicknamed King of the Wild Frontier, is an iconic figure in American history, but the end of his life is shrouded in mystery and debate. Known for his roles as a pioneer, congressman, and storyteller, Crockett stood out for his participation in the Battle of the Alamo in 1836. He fought bravely alongside about 200 men against a much larger Mexican army in a siege that lasted 13 days. Accounts of how Crockett died on that fateful morning of March 6th continue to divide opinions. The most accepted version is that he fell in battle during the conflict, showing great heroism. However, there are alternative accounts suggesting that Crockett and 5 other soldiers were captured and promised clemency, but were executed contrary to the promises made. These divergent narratives fuel the controversy that still surrounds the final moments of his life. Jesse James, the infamous outlaw of the Old West, met his end in a tragic and unexpected way. After a turbulent period of numerous heists and escapes, he was hiding out with his brother Frank. Over time, Frank decided to abandon the criminal path and lead an honest life, leaving Jesse vulnerable and forced to recruit new members for his gang. Among the new recruits were the Ford brothers, Bob and Charlie, who had their own agenda. The governor of Missouri, Thomas Crittenden, exasperated by Jesse's continual criminal acts, had offered a $10,000 reward for his capture. Enticed by the promise of money and a possible pardon, the Ford brothers concocted a treacherous plan. On a hot day, while Jesse was at home relaxing without his coat and guns, Bob Ford seized the moment of vulnerability. Without hesitation, he shot Jesse in the back of the head, ending the career of the notorious criminal. This act not only secured the reward for the Ford brothers, but also marked a decisive point in the pursuit of outlaws in the Old West. Jesse James's death quickly captured the nation's attention. Far from trying to hide their involvement, the Ford brothers openly took responsibility for the act. Robert Ford wasted no time in sending a telegram to the governor, claiming the promised reward. Curious onlookers and admirers of the legendary outlaw gathered in droves at the modest residence in St. Joseph, eager for one last look at Jesse James, now a fallen bandit. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, immortalized on screen by Paul Newman and Robert Redford, had lives as dramatic as the characters they portrayed. Leading the infamous Wild Bunch, Cassidy orchestrated heists that averaged $35,000, always escaping thanks to his meticulous planning. Tired of the fugitive life, the two decided to start over in South America. There, they kept a low profile until a supposed payroll robbery in Bolivia put them on the radar of local troops. In a subsequent confrontation, Sundance was wounded. That night, a duo of gunshots rang out and the men's bodies were found with headshots, Sundance with one between the eyes and Cassidy with an apparent suicide to the temple. The mystique surrounding their deaths sparked heated debates and theories that one or both might have survived. Claims emerged, such as one from a man named William Henry Long, who allegedly lived in Duchesne, Utah, under the identity of Sundance. When Long died in 1936, his body was exhumed in 2008 for DNA testing, but analyses conducted by anthropologist John McCullough revealed they did not match the DNA of a distant relative of Sundance Kid, leaving the mystery still. Belle Starr, better known for her associations with criminals than for direct criminal acts, led a life filled with controversy and tragedy. Convicted once for horse theft, which resulted in a 9-month prison sentence, Belle never again had run-ins with the law, although she continued to associate with outlaws and figures of questionable reputation, including 2 husbands who met their ends in shootouts. Belle also had ties with the infamous James Younger gang. Her life came to a sudden and violent end on February 3, 1889, 2 days before her 41st birthday. Returning home after visiting a neighbor, Belle was ambushed. Knocked off her horse, she was shot multiple times to ensure her death, with bullets hitting her back, neck, shoulder, and face. The mystery of who killed her remains, with various theories circulating, including one that suggests her own son, Ed, was involved in the crime. Her tragic death is one of the many unsolved mysteries of the Old West. Wild Bill Hickok, a name that became legendary in the Old West, initially gained fame when his story of killing 3 men was featured in a magazine, establishing him as a feared sharpshooter. Over time, he participated in various gunfights until a tragic incident, where he accidentally killed his own deputy, led him to withdraw from these confrontations. Gradually, his star began to fade, and he found himself in hard times. On a gloomy day in Deadwood, South Dakota, while playing cards in a saloon, his luck finally ran out. Seated with his back to the door, he didn't see Jack McCall, a young gunslinger, approach. A shot to the back of the head ended Wild Bill's life. In his hands, he held a combination of cards that would become infamous, a pair of aces and eights, since then known as the Dead Man's Hand. Calamity Jane, a legendary figure of the Old West, had a life as tumultuous as her nickname suggests. Known for her skill and bravery, Jane often dressed as a man to work with the Pony Express, and according to rumors, even turned to prostitution to survive. Her prowess as a horseback shooter did not go unnoticed, and she soon became one of the main attractions in Buffalo Bill's show, where her fame only grew. However, stardom came with its excesses. Jane was known for her affinity for drinking, which eventually evolved into a severe alcoholism problem that haunted her until her death at 51. She was buried at Mount Moriah Cemetery in South Dakota, next to Bill Hickok. An ironic choice, as despite Hickok never showing much affection for her in life, 4 of the men responsible for her funeral decided to unite them in eternity as a final prank on Hickok. If you enjoyed the content of this video, don't forget to like and share. Subscribe to the channel and leave your comment below so you don't miss our upcoming videos. Thanks for watching.